Well, my name is Jeff Morris. I'm the Community Partnership Coordinator at the Straz. I'm very excited that you guys could attend today. We are so excited to share some information with you about the audition process and how that works. Just a couple house cleaning overviews type stuff we want to have. If you have questions, probably the best way to do it while we're talking is to type your questions in the chat to the side. However, at different times in the conversation, we want you to get involved and we want to personalize this for you. So if there's a time where we ask a question or for your opinion or how you might be involved in these areas, please feel free to speak up, share your experience, because this is for you. We really want you guys to take away something that you can use and hopefully something that'll help you feel more confident in yourself and the audition process, okay? So feel free to do that at any time with the questions. I think that's pretty much it as far as house cleaning. So I'm going to go ahead and give you guys an overview of what we're going to do in this workshop and then introduce the guests and we will get started. So the basic overview today, guys, is we're going to start with how, if you're a teacher, how as a teacher would you communicate your expectations for auditions? Now, even if you're a student, this is very helpful because you can start to understand what some of your teachers or directors in the community theater are looking for when you come in for audition. So we're hoping that will help both teachers and students out with that discussion. Then we'll move for students. So if you're a student, what are some of the skills that you need to be taught or practicing before you come into the audition? How can you best prepare yourself before you actually show up for that audition on the day? Then the last one is teachers, going back to them and talking a little bit about how do teachers structure the audition, but also for you guys as students, understanding why it's structured that way. How can you best understand that structure and prepare for that so it's not a surprise for you on the day of the audition. So I'm going to be quiet for now. I'm going to let our panelists, speakers, experts introduce themselves. We'll start with Dr. Lauren Murray, and they'll tell you a little bit about themselves right now.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Lauren, and I'm one of the music teachers at the conservatory. And so since there are a number of students here, one of the things I wanted to address off the top is just this idea of communication and also just clarity when you're dealing with auditions. And the first thing I think that's important to think about is what kind of audition am I holding or attending? So for instance, am I auditioning for school? So am I auditioning, say, I'm a high school student auditioning to go to college. That is one kind of audition. Am I auditioning for a specific part? So am I auditioning for a role in a play or a musical theater event? Am I auditioning for a chair in an orchestra? Am I auditioning for a specific ensemble for a specific event? So all of those auditions are going to be a little bit different, and they're going to have different kinds of requirements. And so as an instructor, you need to make sure that it's very clear the kind of audition that you're holding and the expectations that you are looking for. So, and as a student, you need to make sure that you understand what those expectations are and that you are bringing to the audition the things that the teachers are looking for. So I want to just call our attentions to a couple of different things, and then we can circle back to this topic in questions later. But one is, if we're thinking about school auditions specifically, say you're thinking about college auditions, one of the things that you are going to encounter, no matter where, if you're auditioning for music schools, for theater, for any kinds of performing arts, you're most likely at every college that you look at, you're going to be seeing lists of required repertoire that you have to prepare and present to them. So I'll use myself. I'm an oboe player, and I'll just use myself as an example. If I was auditioning on oboe to attend the University of South Florida, when I'm looking at the audition requirements, the requirements are going to list probably 5 or 6 pieces, specific pieces that they want me to hear. Maybe the Mozart Oboe Concerto, a Handel Sonata, that sort of thing. And if I'm auditioning for 5 different schools, that's a whole lot of music that I have to prepare. It's a lot of different things potentially, and maybe way too much to have to prepare for yourself. So what I would encourage you to do is look at some of those lists and see if there are similar pieces, because I bet you'll find, or similar things on all of the lists that you can prepare to sort of have ready to go across the board. And then on some of them, let's say you have 3 things that you know you can do at every single place, but then there's this one school that kind of wants this random list of stuff that you don't have prepared. Contact them. Contact the school or the place you're going to audition and say, you know, I don't have Mozart prepared, but I have Bach prepared. Would that be an acceptable alternative? And most of the time, especially if you're doing a school type auditioning, that the answer is going to be yes. So try to organize your requirements and make sure that you're looking ahead early enough so that you know what the expectations are. The other thing is, if you're going to a sort of a chair-specific audition or a role-specific audition, make sure that you know what they're looking for. So I'm thinking like on the theater end, you may be auditioning and they're looking specifically for someone who can sing, and maybe they're a soprano and also can move, meaning you can dance a little bit. So if you are not a soprano and you've never had a dance class in your life, you may still take that audition, but I think you need to understand that the expectations are they're looking for those specific kinds of things. So that doesn't mean you're any less talented or that somehow you're not good enough. It just means that the requirements that they are looking for are not what you have in your package to offer for that particular audition. So I think sometimes we get discouraged, or we feel bad. We get to the audition and we've got all these people around us. We're feeling like, oh, I'm totally not, I don't look like them, or I don't sound like them. Your job when you're preparing for an audition, first and foremost, is to read the requirements and understand what the expectations are and what they're looking for. If that's not clear, so let's say you're going to go audition, let's say you're going to come to Patel Conservatory and you're going to audition for one of our musical theater productions. If there's not anywhere on there that you see where what they're looking for in a particular audition, then reach out. Again, ask those questions. Are you looking for, should I bring dance shoes? If things like that aren't already very clearly stated, those are the kinds of questions you want to ask. You want to make sure that you understand what's going to be expected of you when you arrive. So I think from both ends, as a person holding an audition or as a person taking an audition, I think it's important to know what the goal is. What are we auditioning for? Am I auditioning for something general like admission to a school? Or am I auditioning for a specific part or a specific chair, that sort of thing? And so what are the requirements? How are the requirements different? And if I don't understand what those are, who can I communicate with to make sure that I know what those are as well? The other thing that I think is important that we communicate and also make sure we're understanding is that is the arrival time and what's going to be expected of you when you arrive. If you're holding an audition, if you're a teacher holding an audition, and you know that when the student arrives, they're going to have to fill out 79 pages of personal information when they get there before they take their audition, make sure that you let people know that. make sure you say to them, please come at least 15 minutes early to fill out paperwork. It's kind of like going to the doctor's office. You know, they tell you that now. When you arrive at the doctor, you're going to have to fill out all these paperwork. It's the same deal. And so, because you want to be in a different headspace when you're warming up than when you're filling out a piece of paper, your name and address and what grade you're in and all those kinds of things. So be ready. And if that's not communicated to you as a person who's taking an audition, I would encourage you to expect that. So make sure that you give yourself enough time when you arrive. If you had to do something like that, that you're ready for that it doesn't surprise you, that it doesn't kind of take you out of the focus that you need before you're taking your audition, and that you've left yourself enough time not only to fill out forms, but then kind of get yourself back into the warm-up mode that you need to be in and the focus that you need to be in order to take your audition. So I think that's exceptionally important thing to remember as well. And then we may circle around to this at the end as well. This would be a whole other topic. But a lot of times, no matter what your area, you are going to be asked to submit a resume. My basic things that I would love to communicate right away to you with a resume is that make sure that you have your information on it very clear. Make sure we know what your email address is. And if you put a phone number on there, I would encourage you to say if it's okay to text you. Most places will not send you a text unless they have your permission to text you. So don't expect them to text you to your phone that you put on there, because that's not an automatic response. So I always like to indicate on mine, here's my cell phone number, and I put in parentheses, okay to text. I think, or text preferred. You may prefer a text message to an email. So make sure that you are communicating that on your resume when you put that forward. Also, when you submit a resume, your resume does not have to be decorated in any way. And I would say that any decorations that are on your resume, all they do is sort of detract from the information that anyone is trying to get from you. So some people might put a small headshot on their resume. That's okay. That's as far as I would go with the decorations. Because they're not necessary and they don't help you really in any way, and most of the time they get in the way. And then the other thing I would say with your resume is make sure you're honest. We use those not really as this person can do this and this and this, so they're better than someone else. Most of the time we're looking at these resumes because, again, we're trying to fill a role. So if you say on your resume you know how to juggle, we may go, oh, I've got this scene where I've got kind of this circus stuff going on and I've got this person who can juggle, so I'm going to start thinking about making plans for my juggler. And then turns out, yeah, I can't. I learned how to juggle when I was 5, but I'm 16 now and I haven't done it in a long time. So those kinds of things don't help you in the long run. So if it's not things that you really can do now, I wouldn't add them to your resume. That goes with music as well. If you, let's say, when I was in high school, I was one of those students who loved to pick up every instrument in the band room and kind of mess around with it. And I could play a scale or two on just about every instrument. That doesn't mean that I am a clarinet player. That doesn't mean that I am a tuba player. Just because I can play a few notes on those things, I wouldn't encourage you to put down that you are proficient in any instruments that you're not really proficient in. It doesn't help you in the long run. So those are my kind of resume, just a kind of a quick checklist of communication. Make sure we can get a hold of you. Doesn't have to be super decorative, and make sure it's honest. So that's what I'm going to start with right now, and then we can circle back on some of those topics towards the end if we have time.
Thank you, Dr. Lauren, for starting us up with kind of an overview of how everything works. I wanted to let everybody know in the chat that I did put a resume example, and this is actually mine. and it has my phone number. So if y'all like text me memes all the time, I'm just gonna block you or something. But I had an example from a few years back, and I believe it was 2015 I created this, or maybe 2017, I can't remember. But it just has a basic overview of some of the stuff that I use to give to directors and local community theater producers as well. And at that time, you know, I had limited experience as well. And so a lot of it was about how do I present my experience best so that they can see that this is a passion of mine, but also I have worked to have some experience. So don't ever let that stop you. If you feel you don't have enough experience, it's really a lot on trying to sell yourself. And so feel free to use that resume as an example. I did want to get a question for you guys and see if we could have a little bit of discussion for our audience here. Have you been to some auditions before, and were they similar to what Dr. Lauren described? Were they different? What were some things maybe you wish you knew going into the process that we could think about as we work through this workshop today? So does anybody feel comfortable sharing maybe their first audition experience or how that's been for them so far? I think I see Latham trying to, are you trying to go, Latham? There you go, you got it, nice.
Okay, so my first audition, I was auditioning for Fiddler on the Roof Junior at Manatee School for the Arts, and I I did really terribly. I was very nervous. My voice was shaking. I was completely nervous. I messed up my monologue and song and everything, and it sucked. But I still got in, and that was cool. So.
And that's one thing that Mr. Matt is going to be talking about, Matt Bellapavlovic. How do I say this, Matt? I'm going to let you chime in because you have your hand raised.
Bellapavlovic, yes.
Thank you, Matt. That I don't know if you can reference it in trying to build with Latham, what Latham said about the nervousness, the anxiety that comes up when you're going to audition. And Latham, just to inform you, I feel that all the time. I've had major anxiety issues with going to auditions. Even after it, when it's all over, it still has been very nerve-wracking for me. So Mr. Matt's going to talk a little bit about the skills and some certain things you can do to prepare yourself as an actor as well.
Yeah. So hi, everybody. My name is Matthew Bellapavlovic, and I'm Theater Department Artistic Director at the Patel Conservatory. I have been in both the performance world in the college kind of audition process and the non-performance. So I have a BFA in acting, which means that I had to audition to get into my program, as well as just get into the school generally with grades and everything like that. And right now I'm in a master's program, which is less performance based. And so if anybody has questions about getting into a school a little bit later as well, I know Dr. Lauren's a great resource, and Miss Audrey about that. But I just wanted to give you a little background on what I've done so that you kind of know what my experience is. But real quick, before I talk about preparedness, I did want to share too that on the Patel Conservatory website, we have fantastic examples of male and female resumes and headshots for young people. So middle school and high school examples. And when someone else starts to talk, I'll post them in the chat, some PDF links. But they are actual students that we have in our productions who have been successful in our productions and outside in the community, in the professional world. And we've kind of put their resumes and headshots online so you can see what those look like. And they're easy, they're clickable links. So you can do some digging, but I'll also try to get those in the chat before the end of this workshop. So Jeff, actually, I'd love to just dive into this PowerPoint. I have a couple slides. I'd love to just talk about the ACIT with the 5 Bs and then I'll just have you scroll down to cover 2 other areas. So I think he's going to screen share everyone. No. Yes, he is. Okay. Woohoo! So this is a PowerPoint that was sent out. Maybe we'll get to see it. There we go. You could just, I think we can all see it if you just click that slide and see if we. We're good to go. Can you click on the one that has the circled A? There. All right. Perfect. So you should see, this is my PowerPoint that was sent out, and it says ACE it with the 5 Bs, a little play on grades there. But I just wanted to share this with you. These are kind of my 5 key elements. Be warm, be prepared. I'm just gonna let you look at it while I go through it too. Hopefully it pops up. Bum, 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 bum. There we go. Now we just need to drop down again. We can just look at it like this. This is perfect. All right. Be warm, be prepared, be confident, be respectful, and be a storyteller. And I just wanted to cover 3 of those. What am I talking about? Of course, that's so vague, so general. What am I talking about here? So first, be warm. A lot of times I ask my actors, what do you do before you walk into an audition? And they go, I look at my script. And that is the answer I don't want to hear. I actually would like to hear that they've warmed up outside of just looking at their script, that they've taken some time to prepare their mind and their body and their voice. And that's really number 1 and 2 go hand in hand. So I thought we'd do a warm up together right now. We're going to do a voice warm up right now. It's very simple. Stay on mute. Nobody's going to hear you. I'm just going to hear myself. You're going to hear yourself. So totally non-confrontational, but we're going to do just a little bit of the vocal tree, and you're going to make some sounds with me. This is from Kristen Linklater's vocal tree. So everybody just touch your hands right here and go like this. Ma. Yeah, don't worry because nobody can hear you. And then the next one you're going to do is like in Shakespeare, they say, I bite my thumb at you. So we're going to go like this. Ba. Yep. And then we're going to touch our cheekbones and go, bada. Then we're going to draw little circles above our eyebrows like this. Pay. And finally, we're going to take our finger and we're going to send it up toward the sky and go like this. Key. Perfect. So I could do 2 hours, 3 hours on warm-ups, right? And I think Mr. Jeff is also possibly going to send out my full car warm-up or something like that, or post it somewhere. But I actually have a whole series of warm-ups that can take place in a car, in the back seat if you're getting driven somewhere, or if you are driving yourself. And so hopefully, I wish that you have a warm-up sequence or something that you do before you walk into the room. I think that's really important. Jeff, could you go down to where it says be prepared checklist? It's one more slide down. There. So this is a quick checklist, and I'm not going to take a whole lot of time to explain it, but this is on the PowerPoint that you can look through. And this is something you should do before every audition if it's a theater or musical theater audition. But look at like a lot of things that Dr. Lauren was saying. Review the posted audition requirements. She was really drilling that home when she was talking. That's huge. Preparing what they have asked you to prepare. So there's some examples of what we would ask someone to prepare. The monologue, the song cut. Really bringing your audition attire and footwear that has been asked of you, but also having some extra things that you might want to throw on. Like, what if they say, oh, let's learn a tap combination, and you happen to have your tap shoes in your bag. So just having that bag that's with all of your materials. Being fully memorized. Don't practice don't memorize for the first time the night before. It's not that preparedness that we're looking for. Dr. Lauren talked about arriving on time and bringing your headshot and resume. Those are on my checklist too, and then some other essentials. So this is a fantastic checklist. I love to work with checklists. This is a great way to make sure that you're ready to go before your audition even begins. And then Jeff, can you go to the slide that says keys to success? And while he's doing that, that one, the keys. Yeah. So, you know, I always get this question, how do I learn how to be confident? That is such a crazy thing to think about, teaching someone how to be confident. The fact of the matter is you can't. So here are a couple things that you can do that either give you the appearance of confidence or help you be confident. Sometimes if we're actors, we can appear to be confident and we can almost talk ourselves into confidence, which is something that maybe you'll learn. Moving with purpose. This is a great symbol of confidence. Walking at a medium pace. You're not running, but you're not dawdling behind, and you're hitting your mark. Every step or gesture within your piece has a reason. So you really have intention behind your movement. You're mindful of any fidgeting. We all have these things that we do. Just be mindful of your actor habits is what we call them. Some ideas about auditioning. You know, visualize your success. Picture yourself totally rocking it out. Close your eyes and just see yourself being awesome at your audition. Think about it as a chance to perform your story. You know, one of my 5 B's is be a storyteller. Don't forget what you're there to do. Whether you're playing a song, dancing a piece, or doing a monologue, you are a storyteller. That's what art is about. This is you telling a story to the person that's casting the show. Don't forget that. That's super important. Understand that rejection is a part of this. I'll tell you very quickly, I wanted to be a clown with Ringling Brothers Circus. It was my childhood dream. It took me 3 auditions over 4 years. You have to be persistent and you have to put in the work. It doesn't always come right away. Rejection is part of this. Don't forget to smile and relax. And you know what? Theater is about making mistakes. Risk-taking is rewarded. If you mess up, keep going. You've heard that all the time. It is true. It's so true. People have bombed their auditions for movies and Broadway and have still gotten the part. Big budget celebrities, these top tier celebrities have bombed their auditions and still gotten their part. Okay. And remember, the people in the room want you to succeed. That is so important. It's our problem that we have to cast a show or figure out where everyone's going to sit in the orchestra. Your job is to be our solution. So don't forget, we want you to be successful. All right. So those are my keys to success and some of my be prepared checklist and a warm up for you. I hope you can take that and run with it, especially if you're students and if you're teachers, teach your kids these things, your students these things. It's super duper important. And let me know if you have other questions about the PowerPoint later. All right. I will turn it over back to you, Jeff, so we can get to Audrey.
Thank you. I'm gonna give you, and Dr. Lauren as well. Yeah, we can do. They can't hear. They can hear me, but you know. Thank you, Mr. Matt. Thank you for sharing, and really appreciate your resources. I will send you guys those videos in your email. So the email that you registered with, please check those after the meeting, and I will send those warm-up techniques, those warm-up strategies that Mr. Matt was talking about. Amaya, did you have a question, or is that a high five? Because I'm down for both. Okay, high five. There we go. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We're going to transition to Miss Audrey Siegler, and I'm going to let Audrey talk whatever she wants to talk about. I know structure was kind of how we were vibing with things, but, you know, if you want to go, follow your heart, Audrey. You're in charge.
I've just been given permission to do whatever I want. I'll stick to the script though. So, hi everybody, I'm Miss Audrey. I have been performing and involved in the performing arts ever since I was little. Like many of you, I'm sure you just like, as a kid, just were always, you know, acting or dancing or being dramatic. And I really started performing when I was in middle school. And then similar to Matt, I went to college for performing arts on an acting track. But I had a little bit of a different education. I actually did theater arts, which also included all the technical elements and all the kind of, it was more generalized. So getting a lot of those details with a focus in acting, but also really falling in love with things like makeup design and stage management and all those kinds of things too. And while I was there, I also picked up a degree in psychology because actors are crazy, right? You guys know, you've probably dealt with all sorts of personalities. So it's served me well in this field. So that's a little bit about me. What I do at the conservatory is I'm actually the managing director for the theater department, which means that I handle a lot of the communications that go out and structuring a lot of our events and also specifically auditions. So I'm going to talk a little bit about audition structure. And this is geared more to some of our teachers and those leading auditions, but students, it's good to know kind of the why. You may have experienced, some of you maybe walking into an audition and you were expecting one thing and then it ended up being something completely different, or you get a question asked of you in an audition and you're just sitting there going, what does this have to do with anything? You just raise your hand if anybody's experienced that. Has anybody ever experienced that? Yeah, okay, some of you, awesome. So really, the structure of an audition, it has a very, very specific purpose, and that is for you, it's going to give you the opportunity to make sure that you get to see what you need to see to be able to cast your show. So that's going to look different for every single audition that you do, because musicals may look similar, just a straight acting show might look different. Seats for an orchestra, looking for, chair placements, that's going to be different too. Ms. Lauren Dr. Lauren already kind of touched on this, but you need to know what you're auditioning for. And that's really going to dictate how you structure it. Expectations are going to be a huge part of that structure as well. So understanding how you want your audition structured is going to be important. And the thing to remember is that you are in charge. Just like I was just gifted the opportunity to do whatever I want, right? You as the directors have the opportunity to structure your audition however you want to. So just really quickly, I'm going to toss some ideas out there and give you a little bit of vocab. So really, when you're starting to think about how you want to structure your audition, you have to think about, what are we doing? I'm going to mostly use a musical as an example, because that's what a lot of times we're producing. But in a musical, what we're looking for is we need to see if our performers can sing, and we need to see if they can act. We also need to see if they can move. Now, depending on what show it is, if we're doing West Side Story, we're really going to need to know if they can dance. Okay, but if we're doing Charlotte's Web the musical, they might just need to move, or they might be able to, just be comfortable moving, so we can hoe down together, right? So those are going to create different types of auditions for us. All right, we may not focus as much on the dance if we're doing something that's more kind of generic and a little bit more simple, or we might focus a lot on the dance. So knowing what script you're going after or what your expectations are going to really help you structure your audition. Now, you might require some things that typically are required, and sometimes as the people holding the auditions, we think that there's a certain way you have to do things. Throw that out the door. Do it the way that you need to see what you want to see from your students or from your actors. So some people go, oh, okay, we've got to see a full monologue, at least a 1-minute monologue. We've got to see at least 16 to 32 bars of a song. We've got to see them prepare a dance and come in and dance for us. That can be a lot. Okay. I really want to encourage you when it comes to dance that if you do want to see your students dance, what we do is we actually teach them the dance at the audition. this accomplishes a few things. They are coming in, not having to prepare anything, just come in, and we're going to teach them. And we're also going to be able to see not only their dance ability, but also how they take that direction, how they handle getting choreography, those types of things. So we start seeing a lot of their work ethic, which is really important to us with how we like to structure our auditions. We love to see more about the individual person than just they're talented, because there's a lot of talented people out there, but there's also a lot of people that are super talented, but you don't want to work with them, right? Or they aren't going to follow directions. They're not going to trust you as a director. So that's one way to handle dance. I would really discourage you having students come with something prepared dance-wise that they've had to do on their own, because that's testing a whole different thing. You're pretty much saying, hey, I know you don't have very much dance skill, or maybe you do, but now I'm going to make you a choreographer. And they're not a choreographer, right? So everything that you're doing with your expectations, you need to try to set yourself and your students up for success. So just kind of keep that in mind when it comes to dance. If that is something that you want to see, think about how you can accomplish that through the audition process. And maybe it's even as simple, depending on what show you're doing, of playing freeze dance. You could totally do that. You could do a group freeze dance, or put on different types of music and see how people move, and you can pick up their natural rhythm kind of through that. As far as monologues and songs, you're going to need to see if people can sing. You're going to need to see if they can act, definitely. But it's really up to you how you want to see that. What we typically do is we have students prepare 32 bars of a song. When we've done very Disney heavy seasons, we just have them do a Disney song. When we've done shows that are more kind of like a cabaret or a contemporary, we've had them come in with a pop song. So there are no rules. You can gear it to what you want to see. If you're having, if you're planning on doing a rock musical and you're requiring students to come in with musical theater pieces, not all of them may be showing their rock ability, or they may be amazing at a musical theater song and it's misleading because they're so good at it. You put them in the rock world and it's very challenging for them. So kind of think through those things when you're structuring an audition to make sure you're really kind of seeing what you want to see. Also, students, this is for you too. When you are preparing, when you're performing your songs for a musical audition, please act. You have to act, okay? A lot of times people stand there and they're like, now's my time to show how good I can sing. And they're focused on the notes and everything, but they're not acting. There's nothing going on. And that's not good, because in musical theater, you got to sing, you got to act, you got to move all at the same time, right? So we want to see that in your audition. Even if you are given the opportunity to do things separately, we need to see that you can perform all together. All right. There's different types of auditions too. Mainly there's an open audition, which refers to you having everybody kind of in one room and seeing people individually and also maybe in groups. Open auditions can work really well depending on what you're looking for and kind of what your goals are. Right? It's also nice, you can kind of see people play off each other. So if you want to kind of see how others work in large groups and small groups, who some of your more confident students are, maybe some that are a little bit more hesitant. And that doesn't mean, if you're more hesitant, that doesn't mean that you're not good or not talented. It just helps the director understand where they can start seeing a cast work together. So open auditions have really great opportunities to kind of see some of that stuff. You can also audition in groups. You don't have to have people prepare individual things. You can even have an audition that says, all right, we're doing an open audition, everybody show up. You don't have to prepare anything. We'll give you direction when you come. And that might be something you want to do as well. And you can then play games together in your audition, and directors you can really observe and from there figure out kind of your casting. So that's one way to do it. Another type of audition is a closed audition or a semi-closed audition. And in that case, you're going to be kind of seeing each auditionee one at a time. So you won't have any distractions. You won't have It might help some of the nerves with the students, though let's be honest, when you're an actor or performer, all auditions make you nervous to some degree, and that's totally normal. But that's another option, that you can have a closed audition and it would just be seeing one person at a time. How we've structured our auditions over the years is we've had all of the above. We've done it many, many different ways, but the standard way that we typically do it is we have a semi-closed audition where we do a dance call with a small group of 10 to 20 students, and we see them together. And then we have everybody come in one at a time to perform their song for us. So that's kind of how you can structure things. Also kind of thinking not just what's happening in the audition room, but also, like Dr. Lauren had said, with expectations, what's happening when they get there? Is there a check-in table? Is there paperwork they need to fill out? How is that going to be, if they are filling out paperwork, what's happening to that paperwork? Are you going in with people telling you their names? Are you going to have numbers for everybody? Are you going to have some sort of a rubric or some sort of a grading scale that you're going off of so you can keep notes on each of the students? So kind of keeping those things in mind, because depending on how many people you're seeing a large number of people over a day, it's easy to forget, and they start running together, especially if everybody's singing Part of My World from Little Mermaid. It's a great song, but not great for an audition. All right, so kind of keep that in mind. How are you going to structure it so that you have organization to your auditions, so that afterwards you can very quickly go, that, yes, it was this one, and this one, and I remember their audition. Maybe even if you're writing down what they're performing, that can help. And in some auditions, they even record them, so they have reference to look back. So just really making sure that the structure, the whole point of this is that the structure of your audition is going to give you the opportunity to find out everything that you want to find out. Of course, there's always callbacks too, which would be the second step to this. And in callbacks, you can get more specific. You can do cold readings if you want to, which is where you would be giving scripts to the students to perform for you. So you can start now associating those actors with an actual character. Or you can come back to callbacks and have a group of people that you think are going to be your cast and play with them and just see how they work together. Because actors are really smart, and each actor has so many things to offer. And students, keep that in mind too, that there's a reason you're being selected for a specific role. There's a reason that you're given the opportunity to participate in performing arts. It's because of what you can bring as a performer. Because if it wasn't, like if everybody was told to do exactly what the director says, then anybody could play any part, right? But what you bring to the table as a performer, that's what we look for. We want to see how you can deliver that line, how you move as the character. We're not going to sit there and tell you every single thing that you're going to be doing, right? So that's where the confidence comes into it, and that's where we're being warmed up and being ready to go, and not being shy to show what you can offer. Because this is Matt touched on it, but this is something I preach all the time, is that we want you to be successful in auditions. We really, really do. Because our task is to put on a dynamite, amazing show. And if you come into the audition and you're awful, then we start getting worried, right? So we want you to be amazing. I know that sometimes if you've been on the other side of that director table and you're standing there for auditions and everybody's looking at you like this. Have you experienced that? Any of you? Have you ever gotten the directors that just look at you like this? Right? We have a lot on our team that's what they do. It's just neutral face, because we don't want to smile and make your brain go, oh, they like me. We also don't want to frown so that you're like, oh God, they hate me. I'm normally the person that's like this the whole time, because I want to give you a little bit of encouragement. But if you've ever seen people that's so not the case. We want you to be amazing. So just kind of keep that in mind. Get it out of your head that the directors hate you and they want you to fail, because that makes no sense. It makes no sense. We want you to be amazing. We want our problem to be that we have too many amazing people, right? So yeah, that's kind of a little bit of an overview. And the only other thing I want to say about structure is sometimes when you hold an audition, afterwards as the director, you might be sitting there going, oh, everybody was awful. I didn't see anything that I wanted. Da 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 da. It's easy to say that, and it's easy to kind of put it back on like, oh, the students weren't prepared, or the students didn't do what I wanted them to do. Take the opportunity to think back to expectations that you laid out, how you communicated them, and really take a second to go, could I do more to help them be successful? Right? Because we've seen that before many, many times, that it seems like the whole group of students are singing the wrong type of songs. Nobody's got sheet music. What is going on? And we go, oh, maybe one more final email, or providing a resource for where they could find sheet music, or making it more obvious that, hey, we're a resource, reach out if you have questions, right? So those are types of things to also consider if you're finding that in your auditions you're not finding what you want, or you're getting frustrated that students aren't doing what you had hoped. Think back to the expectations that you've laid out. And just to also echo what Dr. Lauren was saying, students, reach out if you are unsure. Seriously, don't just assume anything. It is totally fine for you to ask questions. It is great for you to ask questions in advance, right? Give yourself the opportunity to get the answer and then be able to put that into practice, right? So make sure that you're doing that. It's not great to ask the morning of auditions, right? So we are so eager and so happy to help you, because again, we want you to be successful. So please, anything that you have, and every director should be more than happy to answer any questions that you have to make sure that you can be successful for your audition. And that's how you also show them that you're being professional, right? Get all your questions together, send it to them at once, so it's not 100 questions, right? There's a difference between being professional and being obnoxious, right? But please reach out. It's very important. If you have anything that's confusing, or you're unsure, or that's going to just kind of make your confidence go down and potentially keep you from being your absolute best. So always reach out with any of those types of questions. But yeah, that's just a little bit over structure of auditions. I know we're going to open it up in a little bit with some questions. And Dr. Lauren has something too. So sorry, Jeff, I'm skipping over you, but you told me I could do whatever I want. Over to Dr. Lauren.
I did.
Or that way, wherever she is.
I just want to make sure we get to some of the questions from the audience. But Dr. Lauren, you have freedom too.
I just wanted to add one little thing about from a musician's side of kind of the setup side of things, is keep in mind that the environment makes a really big difference with people feeling successful and also being successful. So I can tell you, one time I showed up for a pretty major symphony audition, and I was taken to a loading dock in the back of a stage area, and that's actually where I played my audition for the committee for the orchestra. And I was auditioning for an oboe position, and I was playing sort of in this cement-walled garage space. And so the sound was terrible, and everyone who was taking the audition felt amazingly horrible about the whole event. And so thinking about things like, if you are having people play with a piano, making sure your piano is in tune. If you're using a sound system, making sure that the sound system is working, that you can get adequate volume that you need. If you are using an accompanist, I would say, students, if you're going to an audition, be prepared to sing without your accompanist, just in case something happens. Sometimes accompanists get sick, or you never know. So make sure that you're prepared for some environments that maybe are going to cause some consternation. Also, the temperature in the room, if it's freezing cold or boiling hot, also makes a huge difference. So I would say as an auditioner, be prepared for sometimes really bad environments. It can mentally throw you off. But if you are providing a space and you are the person holding the audition, just taking an extra minute to make sure that you're in a place that is comfortable and is going to be a positive sounding space really makes a huge difference. Thanks.
And I wanted to mention really quickly, I'm sorry I didn't mention it before, but right now too, everybody, virtual auditions are a big part of what's happening. And you may be requested to submit a virtual audition. The biggest thing that I cannot overstress to you is what that video looks like. So to make it as professional as you possibly can, okay? We have some, I mean, I made like a little tutorial for a specific class on how you kind of self-tape yourself. There's so many resources out there. So many of them are like film-based or those types of auditions, but it still has a lot of good stuff in it on how you frame yourself so that we can see your expression, we can see your body, all those types of things. And then also, so there's not a whole bunch of distractions in the background. You don't want somebody walking through during your audition. You don't want a big poster on the back wall that says like, yeah, I love Boys to Men. I'm so old. I'm sorry. I don't know. You know, like you don't want that type of like a kind of thing on your video. You also, if you're doing some sort of a dance audition on video, you want to make sure that we can see your whole body so that when you jump or when you move, you're not jumping off the screen and we can't see you. We did actually receive a dance virtual audition video once with somebody leaping over their dog. You know, so you kind of want to keep it professional if you can. And there's lots and lots of resources. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you're being asked to do a virtual audition, you want to still dress appropriately like you would for a live audition. You want to kind of give yourself kind of a blank canvas behind you so there's not really a lot of distractions. And you want to make sure that you're filmed in a way that we can see you. We can see what's happening on your face. We can see what's happening on your body so that we really do get a good presence of who you are as a performer. All right? Awesome. Back to Jeff.
Everyone, you feel free to unmute, and we're just going to give a slow clap for Dr. Lauren and Matt and Audrey. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Y'all can hear it. You guys can unmute. Thank you guys for that wealth of information. And if you weren't taking notes, we will be sending the video out. But that was just so much to unpack, and there's a lot we can go on and reflect on. Before our time is up, I do want to make sure we get to some of the questions. So we're going to transition to our question and answer time. If you haven't already asked a question, feel free to put that in the chat, and we'd love to get to that right now. So we're going to start with Tierney's question. What Tierney asked was that they wanted to know, say that it's an audition. Tierney, do you just want to ask it? Yeah, go ahead. You got this.
Okay. So what I was wondering is, like, I can still, like, kind of, like, move, but, like, what if you were, like, not very good at dancing at all, but were better at the acting and the singing part? Like, you could still kind of, like, move when you act, but you're not a very good dancer. You don't have really good rhythm, but, you know, you're still good at the acting and singing part.
Do you want to? I'll take it, I guess. We'll just pop up and do it that way. So if you are pursuing musical theater, is that kind of your interest a little bit too?
Yeah, I'm in musical theater.
Awesome. So if you want to pursue musical theater, you do not have to be the most amazing dancer in the world, but I highly encourage, if you haven't, get familiar with movement, get familiar with dance, take a dance class, take a ballet class, take jazz, you know.
The thing is, I do take I don't take any dance classes, but like I mean, in 6th grade I kind of had to, because that's what you have to do in MSA. But like I've also been in like after school theater performance places. It shut down, but you know, I was in that one, and we did do dancing. It wasn't like, the thing is, I just can't do like the crazy things, like the shuffle. Like I'm gonna. Like,
yeah, you don't have to.
A few things, like,
yeah.
And some things you have to do the like the shuffle ball change or something like that. Sometimes I kind of struggle with that. I can do some of the other dances. I can work. I can like if there's something that like if there's already like choreographed and stuff like that, and it's like they're teaching us and helping us, I can do those. But there's some things that I really struggle in.
Yeah, and I think just being a little bit more persistent in it, like taking those classes, even though it might be out of your comfort zone, or you don't feel great at it, you will get better at it the more that you do it. And you don't have to be the best dancer to still do those things. So many of us, myself included, Matt, we would not consider ourselves dancers, but we're very good movers because we're smart and because we can pick things up. And so it is for you,
Yeah.
it might be a little bit of that fake it till you make it, which you can totally do. You can use your acting skills for some of that, but just putting so often too, when we're auditioning people, we look for the people that might not be dancing or doing the steps, but they got a big smile on their face and they're doing it. And so often those people still get cast, or they get cast in certain roles that our dancers might not, so it comes down to, don't discredit your talent or your ability by comparing it to what other people can do with their dance skills, because there's other skills that you might have that they don't. So just keep working at it, and take classes if you can, because you'll just feel more confident. And that's really, you might not ever be the best dancer, but you'll feel better knowing that you put the work in.
And think about the two of the longest running shows on Broadway. Chicago is a heavy dance show, right?
Yeah.
And Phantom of the Opera is a heavy singing show. So that just goes to show you, and then everything in between. I mean, Bright Star is a folk musical. We had Next to Normal, which was and Fun Home, which were completely singer-actor shows. No dancing whatsoever, really. And then you have, big shows like the West Side Story revival that just happened that are heavy on dance. So you just kind of take a glance at what was happening on Broadway too. There's a lot out there. It's hard when you're in high school to see that sometimes, because we only typically do like the MTI book shows, and a lot of that they have big dances in them for high schools. But when you start to get into the college realm of acting too and theater, you'll see that there is a plethora, a lot of different options. And, just look at Broadway to kind of get that mindset. But like Dr. Lauren said, there's so many different options, and directors are looking for all kinds of stuff. And
Okay.
by the way, I noticed I answered it real quick, but Amaya had this great question. She said, do I have to wear black to be professional? And I just wrote real quick, in an audition, you need to wear something that highlights you, and you need to wear something that's comfortable and suitable for movement. So that was such a great question, too. Speaking of movement, we were just talking about dance, so you want to be able to move, you want to feel free in it. You might want to bring a change of clothes, if there's going to be a separate dance call, but it really should be something that highlights you. Not a t-shirt and jeans that are ripped, but because you can't dance really well in ripped jeans. So just think about that, and that'll be a great guide. But yeah, all those things about wearing jewel tones or wearing black to be professional or all that stuff, that's kind of all out the window now. We don't really do that anymore. What a great question, both of you.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah. Who is that? I'm gonna shut up.
There was one other question in there, Jeff. I think I saw it. Let's see. I have to really scroll up past like all of this other stuff.
I think it was Amaya. Did you have another question? Did we get all yours?
Oh, what if? It says, "What if you're a good dancer?" Yep, we got that. Great.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We talked a little bit about confidence. It looks like we have we've answered those too. Great.
I was just going to go back to what Mr. Matt was saying earlier about being a storyteller, and I think Dr. Lauren and Audrey and Matt would definitely support this statement, is that I had an acting coach that there was a role I was going to have for The Great Gatsby, and there was a callback actually. And I was really stressing out and having a lot of anxiety about it. And she just reminded me that every audition, every chance you get to perform is beautiful and art within itself. Whether you get the role, whether you get the chair, you still performed art and you showed people the beauty of your talents, regardless of the outcome of that. And so she just very much encouraged me to take risks, to show them every part of myself that I could completely be, and to know that whether I was cast or not after that audition, that I could be happy with what I was able to do in that moment. So I encourage you guys always to have a similar mindset going in, that it's not about changing who you are to get this end goal met. Because at the end of the day, even if you get that role, were you fully yourself? Did you show them the completeness and the beauty of who you are? So that was just something with Matt being a storyteller that he inspired in myself to think about that.
And there were a lot of other kind of comments on resumes and sheet music and all that. And I just want to let everybody know before you leave, because the chat disappears when you leave, and maybe Mr. Jeff can put this in the email he's going to send out, but I had put some links to those resumes, some websites where you can get sheet music. I also threw in there some of the websites that I like to use for like a free resume builder on performer stuff. Performer stuff is like iTunes for audition material. So you can buy just a cut of a song and a piano recording to practice with. It's really great. And so just check out those resources, open those links before you sign off today and before we close out, because just, you know, explore those and see how they can help you as you move forward.
Any final questions? We'd love to hear from you. Any thoughts that you'd like to share? So happy to see our partners and students here today. I'm very glad to help you out. I think we're losing people. All right, we love you guys. Thank you for attending. I will send, oh, Amaya's got a question. What do you got? Tell us, Amaya, and we will close with you.
I forgot, but are we allowed to put like tiny pictures of us on our resumes?
No, you don't have to do that. That's something that people have recently started to do. It's kind of like, you know, what I'd call a trend. And that changes every single year. There's different things that people do with their resumes and headshots. What, Amaya, for your age, what I would really recommend is having a great clear picture from basically where my logo is up to the top of your head. Okay, that's the headshot. You can take it on an iPhone because iPhones take great pictures. Make sure it's on a neutral background, like a wall with a solid color, and that you're wearing a shirt that is not the same color as the wall. Okay, and then that's the picture you need, right? And you can send that digitally as your headshot. And then your resume, you can actually make a resume in a lot of different Word programs. So probably something you use for school. You can type up your resume in that Word program. And for right now, it's really okay just to have a list of things you've done. You don't have to make it look like it's this, like you've done all of these professional things or even all these educational things, because you may have not. Maybe you only have 4 shows. That's completely okay. As you continue, you're going to be able to drop things off and add new things on. Okay. So right now, I think you could just make 2 separate things, a picture and a resume, and that's the stuff that you'll need. But those are just guidelines of how it could look if you want to make a good resume, right?
Just real quick, Lathan had a quick question in the chat. He said, I don't have an iPhone and my camera is bad, and I see Dr. Lauren already responded to that. Yeah, what I was able to do for myself, because I was in the same circumstance, was I had photographer friends who are always looking to build their portfolio, or I knew individuals at the local community theater who often would do that for free. If you don't know somebody who's into photography and looking to build their portfolio, definitely ask a friend who might have those capabilities. That's the best way to go with it.
And Latham,
so
you have lots of resources at MSA probably, because you guys have a photography program. So they're always looking for stuff to do. So I would say hit up, even go to that teacher and just say, hey, I want to get some headshots, or talk to Mr. Frazier. They will totally make some sort of a connection, and I'm sure you can get a really nice headshot that way.
Yeah, but whatever you do not pay for a headshot until you know that this is, even before college, you just don't need it. We are able in this world of technology to do it. Now, if you go to Broadway, go pay someone to shoot your headshots. But right now, Don't get tricked. All of you young people in this room, anyone listening at home, teachers, you don't need an agent right now. You don't need a headshot that costs $100. You have a friend in your art program, take it for you. That's a great suggestion. And when you feel it's ready, when you feel you've hit that level, if you have questions about hitting that level, let us know. But right now, focus on building that resume and learning the craft. Those are the best things you can do for yourself.
Well, thank you guys for attending. We're so happy to have you, and the great questions, Lathan, Maya. I don't know if Tierney is with us anymore. Thank you guys for your questions as well. And I'll be sending out those links. And yeah, so maybe just give a hand to the speakers, the sharers, but also the audience for asking so many great questions. You guys were great, and this was really fun to do. So have a great day. Be reaching out with those links, and we'll talk to you later.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Is
Good
this
luck.
being
Break
recorded?
legs.
This was recorded, yes.
Okay.
That's good.